Hello everybody. For this video, we are going to talk about the impact of language socialization in teaching practices in the field of second language acquisition. So, let's begin with the introduction. In the field of language education, there has been a traditional emphasis on individual cognitive processes when it comes to second language acquisition. That is to say, completion activities or activities that involve learning the language in very um, specific contexts and processes. As teaching practices in language education have primarily been dominated by individual cognitive approaches, there is a growing recognition of the need to explore how language socialization can play a pivotal role in making language concepts more accessible and also understandable. Regarding the problem that this research study is trying to address, it is focused on how language socialization plays a key role in second language acquisition, even in speakers that have achieved a high level of proficiency. So, the main aim is to investigate how context and language acquisition play a vital role in understanding language notions, as opposed to how these language notions become intrinsically difficult or impossible to understand without socialization. So, our research questions are: number one, are there any instances of language socialization in the teaching practices regarding the target population? Number two, what role does language socialization play and how can it influence teaching practices? And lastly, how can language socialization impact cultural and communicative competence? These research questions, of course, generate our objectives. The general objective is to analyze how language socialization can play a pivotal role in enhancing second language acquisition regarding improving teaching practices. And the specifics are to observe teaching practices done in target population regarding the use of language socialization, to measure how language socialization can influence teaching practices and results, and lastly, to determine how language socialization can impact cultural and communicative competence. Now, this study will be carried out specifically in a private school in Caracas, Venezuela, among teachers in high school that teach English literature. Uh, Additionally, the idea is to also gather data from students so they will be participating indirectly. Acknowledging the interplay between language socialization and second language acquisition has become increasingly crucial. Understanding the broader influences of language learning, including emotions, beliefs, socialization, is quite fundamental for enhancing comprehension of effective teaching practices. Moving on to Chapter 2, Theoretical Referential Framework, we are basing our ideas on authors such as Ox and Scheffeling, which have devised and developed a sociocultural focus regarding how language acquisition shapes teaching practices in the realm of second language acquisition. These works are essential for this type of uh, studies. Vygotsky social cultural theory has been a very important theory in the field of education regarding language. It serves to augment our perspective, which underscores the significance of social interaction and cultural tools in molding cognitive development. Lastly, regarding the linguistic anthropolo- anthropologic, sorry, regarding the anthropology linguistic point of view, we are going to work with Duranti's work. His theoretical insights into cultural dimensions of language will prove invaluable for our research. Some studies that have been done in the past are Garcia's work from 2009. He presented a contemporary lens on multilingualism and language socialization. On the other hand, Thorne, Black, and Sykes, did a very interesting study regarding language socialization, focusing on online gaming communities. Bloom's work offers valuable insights into the complex interplay between language, identity, and social structures in globalized contexts. Regarding the methodology, we are going to employ an ethnographic approach. This method allows the researchers to explore context, culture, and lived experiences of teachers and students, aiming for a holistic and nuanced perspective. The participants are the teachers of English as a second language, and like I said before, we will include students' assessments, considering that their work is also very important to paint a more complete view of what we are trying to study here. So, regarding the teachers, it is estimated that 4 to 5 teachers will participate in the study, and we will collect samples of between 30 to 50 students. Initially, we were thinking about maybe 80, but as the work has been progressed, uh, this number seems to be more realistic. Regarding the methodology, we have independent variables and dependent variables. Regarding the independent variables, we have the frequency of language socialization techniques by the teachers, the types of language socialization techniques that the teachers might or might not use in class, and the teacher's attitudes towards language socialization, if they consider that it is a good technique or not. And the dependent variables are the student language acquisition, that is to say, their levels of language proficiency, and the cultural and communicative competence. Regarding the instruments, we are considering using observation sheets in order to collect data from the classes that we might observe. Also, surveys to get the perspectives of the teachers regarding language socialization, and also some students' assessments, which will include some pre and post tasks in view of language socialization. The data plan analysis will, of course, involve first the data collection, then the data analysis, and last but not least, the mixed methods in which all of the instruments or the data collected from the instruments will be triangulated and analyzed. Continuing with the resources needed, we understand that the research is the first element to take into consideration for this study. Observation sheets and surveys, like previously said, the technological equipment, that is to say, from computers, from uh, printers, uh, any element that is technological that will be used in this study. The software for data analysis, in this case, we're considering the use of Google Forms, and of course, time and funding. Funding, because not only funding represents money, but it also represents anything from a pen to a piece of paper to even the facilities to be used, which are the institution in which this study will be carried out. And last but not least, the limitations and the research extent uh, are mostly defined by range, constraints, and teacher bias. Regarding the range, considering that the study is only done in one institution, it might not have a very clear representation of a general point of view in the country. However, it is still very useful. Time constraints is something that will always have to be taken into consideration, considering the ambitious nature of this research, and also perhaps the teacher bias. If there are teachers self reporting or if they have a particular attitude towards language socialization, that might introduce bias in the data results, which we have to be very careful of. Here are the references. We hope that you have um, enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave comments down below. Thank you very much.